Alright, so as I mentioned a few days ago, I wanted to take a look at a game that may not be enjoyed by everybody, and I can definitely say I'm one of those people. I don't think it was the best thing ever, but for what it did, in comparison to maybe the modern multiplayer games we get, and this is kind of like one half of it, and then there's another game that's a lot more kind of respected and liked that does it a different way, which also does it really well, and that game is actually good. That's the thing. But yeah, we're going to look at Operation Raccoon City today and kind of go over what it did that could be implemented into a future game. So I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of the game. Everyone who's played it knows what it's about, and it's not canon and stuff like that, but the gameplay itself is what we're going to be looking at today, for the most part. And it's mainly the campaign. That was on multiplayer mode, but that doesn't really count, because I played it very briefly, and it wasn't all that good anyway, but the campaign is what we're looking at specifically. So the game itself, in simple terms, is a third-person shooter, a team-based, cooperative-style third-person shooter, kind of a cover-based shooter as well. And yeah, it wasn't received very well, but again, gameplay-wise, so it was very cooperative, and it involved a lot of action. There was moments where you'd fight like big, well-known bioweapons throughout Raccoon City. There'd be rooms of zombies, there'd be rooms where you had to fight other kind of AI soldiers, and at moments it was tough, but again, because it was co-op, it had that fun experience. I do want to kind of show it some positivity that although I didn't like the game per se, I think the character design for the Delta Squad, the Umbrella Squad you play as, and even like the Stars side of it as well, it was all pretty cool. Like I like the look of the characters. One of the characters specifically is like very iconic. I think people really like his design. And, you know, Hunk's in it as well, and people are begging, well, not begging, but a lot of people are kind of wanting a Hunk kind of standalone game, and I think really, honestly, this is probably the closest we'll get to it, because I don't think they're going to go balls to the wall with action again, but I think this was probably the closest you'll get to that style of game. It also kind of implemented some hero-based shooter mechanics as well, where each character had like different things. So for example, you had like a guy that was really good with explosives. You had a medic style character that had like healing abilities. There was a character I think that could kind of manipulate zombies and make them like friendly for a brief period, I think. And then there was a guy that went completely invisible. That was good. That was a good thing. I enjoyed that. I thought that was quite fun, because it made, you know, different setups for different teams play differently. Another positive with the game was, you know, it wasn't a canon experience. You know, the events of the game didn't actually happen, but because it wasn't canon, they had more free reign to do what they wanted, and there was moments where you could kind of come across like Joe Valentine or Leon, and you kind of, I think there was options to help them or not, and you actually could fight them, I think. And I always thought that was cool too, because it was more of like a what if this happened kind of situation, and I enjoyed that for it. And I think it did a lot of things wrong as well. I think the online multiplayer mode was not great in terms of like the PvP. I think it just wasn't done very well. I think the kind of, I remember having a bit of connection issues on the PS3 back in the day. I don't know if that's been improved since it's been so long since I've played it, but I remember that being an issue, especially with like having a full squad of players. While I think the cover mechanics were fine and very similar to other games at the time, like Gears of War and stuff like that, where it's just a simple button press and then a peek over cover, and it was very kind of same. I think the time to kill was pretty rough at times. I think some enemies were far too tanky and took too many bullets, and they did try and incorporate like the low ammo system. You still had lots of bullets, but there were still moments where you would kind of have to chunk through a lot of ammo, and I think that did maybe encourage more cooperative online play rather than playing with a team of bots. But again, it's a game built for co-op, so I think why wouldn't you play it with other people? Kind of jumping back to the competitive multiplayer part of the game, I did think, although how the game worked, it wasn't necessarily the best for it. I think the modes were quite fun. I do want to talk about those a little bit, because compared to like Reverse just being a free-for-all, they had some pretty unique ideas, one of which I really liked in this game. So we'll kind of talk about the game modes now. So obviously you had your traditional kind of TDM, which was like, you know, just first to kill limit wins, and the good thing about the multiplayer was, well, at least to me, there was zombies on the map as well, so you kind of be fighting between the other team of players and the infected as well, and that was kind of the same with Umbrella Corps, but I think this game maybe did the multiplayer a little bit better, but that's not necessarily an upgrade. And it had a mode called Survivor, and this was pretty cool. I really like this one. So the idea was to fight over seats on a helicopter to extract from the map, and when you killed a player, it would kind of make their respawn time longer, which gives you a better chance to get on board. Ideally, you want to try and get your team to be the ones out, but because it's like limited seats, you have like a mixed amount of people who will get on per team. The only issue with it being, if one person on your team got on the helicopter, that would be a win for them, but if you didn't, it would be a loss for you. It was kind of weird like that. I don't really get why it was a team mode. I would have much preferred if it was like a free-for-all type, but it was really fun. It was a good time. But yeah, I think the idea I was trying to get to with this video is they've tried to make these multiplayer games as of late, and obviously you've got Resident Evil Resistance, which again is probably the most liked out of the bunch. You've got Umbrella Corps, which was, I think people did like it, but at the same time it was a bit of a mess. And then of course you've got Resident Evil Reverse, which I think it had promise, I really did, but they just didn't support it enough. They added characters no one knew, there was no additional modes, there was like 3 maps, and it just fell off real quick. But this is what I'm saying, like, this is one half of the multiplayer experience. This is the action focused experience, okay? So use the basis of this game, improve it in like in the RE engine or whatever it may be, and let's say, just as an example, you're playing as a small group of RPD police officers who are stuck in the city somewhere, and your goal as a team, and maybe again they have like different abilities like they can use to help each other, you have to get out. That's a good game right there. Like, it's not this hyper action game, maybe there's resource management and stuff like that, you gotta work between each other to do it, but that's a good idea for a game right there. And that again doesn't have to be canon at all, it can just be like a one-off thing, and I think this could be the groundwork for that, you know. Make it this team-based tactical shooter where you come across different types of zombie, come across different types of like enhanced infected like lickers and dogs and hunters or whatever, make unique boss fights, and I think you could be onto something with that. It's obviously an action-focused part of a multiplayer game, but that's the thing with the multiplayer RE games. They're trying to make PvP way too often, and it's falling at its feet because it just isn't a series that really works with PvP. But yeah, that's kind of my own thoughts about it. I think using a lot of what Operation Raccoon City did could potentially give us a good action-focused cooperative experience. And there's another, like I said at the start of the video, there is another RE multiplayer game that I think is a lot more well received, and there's quite a big part of the community that is asking for a remake of it, so I definitely think it would be in their benefit to go ahead and do that if they want to keep multiplayer relevant, and we'll make a video on that within the next few days, so keep an eye out for it. I'm sure you know what it is by now. But yeah, as always, let me know your thoughts on Operation Raccoon City. Do you think it's a good kind of basis for a action-focused cooperative game? Do you think the game was, like, maybe underrated? Did you like the game? Let me know your experiences with this game down below in the comments. Leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, and subscribe for more Resident Evil content. I'll try and post most days and stream most weekends. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one.